Hi everyone, it's Maria Burke here with the 321 Focus Together, and my guest today is Paul Congdon from Positive Life. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I would. My name is Paul Congdon, as Maria just said, and I'm the publisher of Positive Life magazine. I've been doing this now for about, I think it's 11 years, something like that, 11 or 12 years. And I bought it from a lady who started it in her bedroom. It's a housewife. And she was doing it kind of just to uplift people, a little bit of fun. It looked like a pamphlet. And I saw it at a Deepak Chopra event, and I decided to work for her for a while. And then I took the magazine over, and I just took a chance and started asking all the big spiritual teachers in the world, could I interview them? And they started saying, yeah. So the magazine just became, it gave me the possibility to leave my corporate job. So I left my job in 2008 and off I went. And it just went from, it just went amazing. It just grew and grew. And now we do events, Positive Nights, which you've been to, Maria. And the magazine comes out 4 times a year. And the next one, we're interviewing Joe Dispenza. It'll be out in June. So it's been an amazing opportunity for me. I've spoken to most of the world's leading spiritual teachers. And my whole thing about the magazine is that it's good news. It's to uplift people. It's to connect people. And we need it. We need more balance in our media. And that's what I get a buzz out of. I love communication. I love just giving it to people and let them do what they want with it. No agenda. No need to sign up for anything. There's the magazine. This is what we have, great content in it. Take it from there, you know.
Fabulous. And I mean, what I find is the whole vibe of everything you do is just fabulous. Because I've been to some of the Bewleys events in Dublin, and Bewleys is such a lovely venue anyway. But it's just the vibe is fabulous, and the vibe from the magazine is fabulous. But what was the journey before you decided to do Positive Life? So obviously you're in the corporate world, but at what point had you started on your spiritual journey? Because presumably you were at some sort of an event that was a spiritual soul searching type of event in the first place.
Yeah. So the big move for me was when I'm 51 years of age now. I was 33. So that's 17, 18 years ago. And I had anxiety, panic, just out of the blue. And I would be in my apartment in town, and I would have to leave the apartment and walk to Sandy Mount Beach to calm myself down and breathe. And I thought, this is weird. And I went to normal doctor chaps, and they said, oh, we have these antidepressants. And I thought, I was more afraid of the antidepressants because I thought I'm going to have to deal with this another time. So in a way, it sounds like bravery, but in a sense, I was a little bit of a chicken because I didn't want to, I could deal with what was going on, and I wanted to deal with it. Now, I had kind of given up alcohol or cut it down a lot. And I'd gone through a relationship breakup. So it was like pent up emotions were all coming up and I couldn't really deal with them. So I went to Spain and I saw a sign. I was on a holiday there and I saw a sign saying Reiki. And I thought, what's that, a massage or something? I was completely green. I had no clue. I came from a background of managing bands, drinking, hanging around town, real party man, you know. And now I'm suddenly in Spain. I'm suffering with panic. I need some help. I go into this. The weird story is the night before, I'll give you the very short version. I was sitting at an event party on a beach and I wasn't in a great space. I was struggling to get through each day. It was tough. It was a lot of anxiety in my body. And I saw this white-haired lady with blue eyes and I kind of sat near her, but I didn't talk to her. The next day I went for the Reiki treatment and I knocked on a little beautiful, everything white on a beach in Spain. And I tapped on the door and that lady opened the door from the night before.
Of course she did.
At the time though, I had no, coincidences we see a lot more now. And we know them. We know they're not really coincidences. But I got the Reiki session and I was lying there thinking this is a bit weird, but I remember she put her hands on my heart here. And I start kind of laughing. Now, when you're in a state of depression, to start laughing is almost impossible, but I actually felt a laugh coming up. So it was the most beautiful healing session because it had a big impact, because when you're from that low state and you get a Reiki session, it brings up your energy. So at the end of the session, I said to her, can I come every day for the rest of my holiday? And she said, yeah. And as I was walking out the door, she said to me, Paul, I don't know you, but I want you to know that you have a nice heart. And what you're going through at the moment is causing you to be a little bit suppressed. But you have a beautiful heart and you'll come through it. Now, no one has ever said that to me. So I went outside that place and I think I started crying. I just walked along the beach and I thought, this is I remember, I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it. It was a really pivotal moment in my life and it changed everything. So from a guy drinking loads of pints and going to every party to sitting in a room with 8 middle-aged women wearing tracksuit bottoms, drinking chamomile tea and becoming I trained in Reiki. And I always remember sitting with those women. And I don't mean middle-aged women in that sense, but always, when I got into the spiritual thing first, it was all women. Everywhere you looked was women. And they were just growing and developing themselves. And that's why the feminine is so important right now and so important to the planet. But I remember looking around the room and thinking, wow, this is where I feel more at home here now. So it was like Reiki took me in, kind of brought me back to a good spot. And then I got back out in the world again about a year later. And that's when everything changed. I started looking at things completely differently. And it led me to Abraham Hicks in 2008. And I decided, because their work was so amazing, I would set up a group in town. And I called it the Buddha Bag. We worked from a shop in town. And we would do events every Thursday night, and we would literally put on a tape of Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, just those guys talking. I don't even think Eckhart Tolle was around at that time. Abraham. And we had 4 people, then we had 8 people. Then one night I went down, there was a queue outside, and I said to the guy, are you having an event? And he said, no, that's for your event, because he ran the shop, you know. And he said, no, that's for your event. And I looked down, it was all these real hippie kind of dudes. And I always remember talking to this Russian guy, and he said to me that he was fasting. And I thought, these people are going to find me out because I'm not really fully a spiritual person. I'm just, they don't know my background. They don't know where I'm coming from. And I went in and I put on the Abraham Hicks tape, and all these real super hippie spiritual dudes were just nodding in agreement and going, wow, it's great that we have this ability to gather. I suppose you can imagine, and like, people have been gathering for years, but in 2006 or 2007, this seemed kind of new and fresh. And suddenly I was gathering people like you wouldn't believe. Like, people were coming through the doors that were very much asking about more in life and looking at spiritual teachers. And it was incredible. And it was all about hugs and connecting and kindness. And it was just an extraordinary thing, and that's changed now to Positive Nights, but it started as the Buddha Bag.
Wow, that's fabulous. And actually, back in 2006, I started a positive group down here, and we called it Positive. So I used to hear about the Buddha Bag because Mary Callahan had mentioned it to me. So you were doing your thing at the same time, but mine didn't last through the recession. But I just love the vibe of what you're doing up there. And that is just such an amazing story. So how long was it after you met that lady in Spain that you actually chucked the corporate job, or was it
the actual corporate job? Yeah. So that's it would have been a few years. Let me see. So I would say, I was 33 when all that happened, and I would say I left the corporate job. That's 17 years ago. Yeah. So in or around, I would say about 3 years later, I started doing a lot of Reiki, a lot of work on myself. Everything started changing, but my job was very well paid and it was very easy. I've always been a kind of I trained in sales a lot, so I was in advertising, selling. And when I went to Deepak Chopra, probably 3 or 4 years later, I saw Positive Life written on a table, and it caught my eye. And I thought, wow. And weirdly, Deepak, you mentioned Mary Callahan. Is that from Uskalt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about the Deepak Chopra event that was in City West?
There was one in City West run by another Mary Callahan. Do you know that Mary Callahan?
The Mary Callahan that does the Deepak Chopra meditation.
Is that the lady you know?
Yeah, with the blonde hair.
Yes, she's now in politics.
Oh, right. I didn't realize that. I saw her in an EFD
She's
ad.
yeah, she works for with Roisin Shortall, Social Democrats, I think.
Okay, right.
So great to have Mary in politics. But anyway, she yes, she did the event with Deepak, and she was at that event with me where I saw the magazine. But basically what happened was, that's when I started I started working for that lady, and then I took the magazine over because she wanted to sell it. And 2 years later, I remember Deepak, we were interviewing him, and he was on the cover of the magazine. And I had the cover in front of me, and I was doing a proofread. And only then I remembered that I'd seen the magazine at his event. And I wrote a little piece in that issue saying things have really come full circle, because here he is now on the cover. And Mary Callahan got me the interview because it was difficult to get an interview with him. She got me the interview.
That is just amazing. And it is so amazing how when you write things down or put it out there, that it literally all starts to unfold. Like there is so much magic in the universe, but there's so much magic in ourselves. That's what I find. Once you open up your heart and you're not afraid to follow your crazy intuition, like it just leads you on such a magical path. And it's like what Steve Jobs says is, you can join, when you look back, it all makes sense. But when you're going forward, sometimes you really, like, I often have the chat with the hand of like, are you still being crazy? So, I'm sure do you still find yourself doing that, or do you just completely trust now in everything?
Okay, so completely trust. My trust levels would have gone up a huge amount, since then. But I do love when I reflect on this period, the naivety and the almost, because I didn't really sit down and plan things out. I didn't. I just went along with the flow. And I remember the essence being, I want out of this job. That was the main driving force. And I wanted to work in the spiritual area. But I didn't believe that was really possible. I didn't think you could actually make money and a living from spirituality and from this type of work. I thought it might be a little hobby on the side. And then when the Buddha Bag started gathering, maybe 60, 70 people, we used to do it every Thursday night. We don't do as many now with Positive Nights. We do maybe 2 a month or 3 a month. But then it was every single Thursday, and it would be 60, 70 people every week. And they all just paid 10 quid in. And I would pay for the room, and then I would go home and I'd have money. And I'd be like, wow. And then I started the magazine. So I had the magazine and the events. And simultaneously, I was able to actually make a living from both of those things. And then, so it's so true when you hear, follow your passion and the money will come. Because I certainly didn't go into it thinking this is going to be a big profitable exercise, I mean, now I look at things differently, I suppose. And in a way, I like to remind myself to go back to that naivety, because there's something beautiful about just not getting too involved in your creations, just focusing and feeling the essence of what it is you'd like to achieve.
Yeah.
And
do you know what I'm feeling? It has that kind of do you remember Little House on the Prairie? And they were all at the beginning of it has that feeling of them all running down the field. So that's that childlike innocence. Do you remember the beginning? That's the flash I'm getting.
I love the music of it.
Yeah, but just that feel of like just the childlike innocence of being allowed to carry along, and and there's magic in that, isn't there? There really, really, really is. Yeah.
Such magic in that,
Yeah.
I mean, when I actually took the magazine over, I got quite panicky in the car park after. The lady who I bought the magazine from, I gave her the money, and it was like a check or whatever, and money that I borrowed from the credit union. And then I went into the car park, and I knew there was something higher than me guiding me, but I began to physically retch because I was so scared. And I was in the car park, like kind of going like this, I don't know, I can do this, all these kind of emotions coming up, but just this overriding confidence that was saying to me, you're in the right place here. This is all going to work out. But that reminds me, and the reason I say that now is, no matter how fearful you get, it's okay. You're on the right path. Fear is not necessarily a sign that you're on the wrong path. It's just you're human coming up to speed with the spiritual side of things, I suppose, because I did get worried when the human got so scared that day. I was thinking, oh, this is a bad sign. And it was like, no, this is just your human fear coming up quite strongly,
Right. So by the time you got to there, because I'm just thinking, right, and what I've been saying, and why I agree with you so much about that, a lot of the time it's the middle-aged women. I now count myself in that group as well. But, I've been very conscious that, the women, even, it doesn't matter what your profession is. If you're a woman, you might be more open to doing yoga or, meditation. You might even have gone for card reading. I think a lot of guys that have the suited and booted jobs might be finding it more of a struggle at the moment. So did you find it hard when you stepped out or went to step out from the corporate life, like to have like-minded friends around you? Or did you find that piece, like if there's somebody listening to this and they kind of feel, now they have a chance to reflect on everything in their lives and they're feeling they don't know where to turn or how will it all work out for them, have how was it for you with friends and the transformation in all the areas of your life, or what tips would you have for them about that?
I suppose, when I reflect, the naivety comes in again. And actually, when you said about friends, the main driving force for me was to create new friends. Because when I got into spiritual stuff, all my current friends, they asked me had I found God. And that they asked that in a kind of a limiting way, kind of an Irish way.
A
And
sneer,
I was like,
a sneer.
kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I go back to those guys now and I love them. But back then it was like, lads, I just want to have a chat about, deeper things. I want to talk about, are we creating our own reality? What's going on here? So that it's interesting because I created a whole new bunch of friends because now I know everybody in the spiritual community, and that happened quite quickly. I mean, I remember we used to go to Uskalt in Pembroke Road. That we had put a bag there for years, and you'd have about 60, 70 people, but it would be the same people every week coming. Like now in Positive Nights, you get a different crowd all the time because it's much more diverse and much more. Back then, we didn't have a lot of competition. I mean, Thursday night, we were the only game in town. Spiritual event, we were it, and we were bringing in stuff that was so nuts. We were bringing in guys who channeled aliens. We were bringing in crystal skulls. I mean, and I used to say to people always my attitude was, well, it's better than going to the Red Cow Inn for a few pints, something a bit different. It's just, that's all I was saying. It was just something a little bit different, a little bit unusual, just come and enjoy it. So I would say to people now who are on that buzz of like, right now we're in this period where things are uncertain. And I would say to people, embrace the uncertainty, embrace the unknown, because in that space, and all the spiritual teachers I've spoken to, they will say within that space comes the seed of greatness. And it's so true. When you're in your busy life and all that kind of thing, you don't get the time to go inside. It really is an inside game. And if you can go in and connect with that truth inside yourself, and as I said, not to be afraid of the unknown. I get why it's scary, but in this particular period myself, I'm starting to see how actually attractive the unknown is, because it's a fertile ground. It's a total fertile ground,
And it's full of possibility.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fabulous. So just in terms of like, if there's anybody who's listening now, and I just love the fact you brought up this whole anxiety piece, but if there's anybody listening now, and obviously they can't go for Reiki, etc., but have you tips for anybody who's feeling very anxious? And I would have to say, earlier today, because I put a post on Facebook, I started to feel really, really, really overwhelmed. And so I had to sit with it. And I don't think it was mine. I think it's whatever's going on collectively. Because I'm very sensitive and I pick up collective consciousness very fast. But an affirmation came in really quickly and I shared it. I can't even remember what it was, but I put it up on Facebook anyway. But have you tips for people who might be anxious? Like, what can they use that's maybe in their own homes already? Or is there something they can Google, or what resources could you recommend?
Okay, well, anxiety basically is when you're kind of in this beta brainwave state and you're kind of heightened and your physical body is under a bit of pressure or imagined attack. So what's the antidote to anxiety? It's calms. Okay. So what you've got to do is if you've gone into a state of anxiety, it's because you've been kind of pushing it a bit too hard for a while, and you've got a bit anxious, or it's built up over time. So what I would suggest is kind of retraining the body back to that calmness. So the breath is a great one. Meditation is a great tool as well. Some people feel that meditation, I don't think so much anymore, but they might feel it's a bit woo-woo. But there's plenty of apps now that are very mainstream. And taking the focus away, like Ruby Wax, I interviewed her, and she was a real proponent of how to deal with anxiety. And definitely mindfulness works, definitely breath work works, going for walks in nature, just reintroducing your body, just retraining it back into the calmness that's really there all the time. And to know that your internal state is actually quite calm. It's just your brain has got a bit overexcited or overstimulated. And even now myself, the trickiest thing for me is social media, because I have to work on it. And that definitely gets me going. You know, I find when I come away from computers and phones, I'm in a more heightened state. So, but I have learned all these tools, you know, so there are so many tools there: swimming in the sea, nature, talking to people about how you feel, getting your emotions out on paper, all of these things. I mean, you're just a massive toolbox there's a massive toolbox there of things that people can do to help themselves, you know. And even on the nutritional side, your fish oils, your chamomile tea, you know, you just really have to support the body back into a state of calm. But the stuff is there for you, definitely. No matter, as you said, if you can't access Reiki or it's too expensive or whatever, there's plenty of things you can do yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And I think nature now is a therapy, nature therapy.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's interesting. Somebody also put something on Facebook earlier today, because like that, I have to go in and put posts up and stuff. And she was just saying she's lived in the country all her life, but she's more connected to nature than ever, because now she's the time to enjoy it, etc. You know, you have a lot of very interesting videos on your Positive Life page on Facebook, haven't you? You've had a lot of different speakers on with tips, etc. Wouldn't that be a good resource for us to send people to as well if they're here listening?
Absolutely, yeah. Right. The Facebook page, we deliberately, the whole vibe with the Facebook page is to just try, well, at this particular period, we went a bit mad. We started doing a video every day because we wanted to really keep people upbeat. So I came up with a tagline for the magazine a few months ago, and it was, "Good news feels better." And it does. It just does. So at a time like we're in at the moment, it's all about keeping your own vibration high. And I just got all these amazing teachers we have in Ireland. We have a community of, like yourself, the program you're doing, the 321, but I know all these people, they're friends, they're healers, and they just come on and they share 10 or 15 minutes about how they're navigating this time. So that's a great resource, yeah, to go there. Yeah. And there's loads of them.
Yeah, and I'll have the link for your Facebook page and your website and stuff as well. I'll put all those links below the video for anybody who wants to go and check out a bit more. Now, touching on the 321, I said to you, would you have a little look at it? And I'd love your feedback on what you think and where it fits in for you or doesn't fit in for you, because there's no right and wrong as far as I'm concerned. So
I think it's a brilliant program. It's a great way to getting people to focus. Writing down 10 things you're grateful for. So I would I definitely do 3 every day. I usually do 3 in the morning and 3 at night before I go to sleep. But you've made me rethink that, because doing 10, it just really gets the juices flowing. And I find the more you do, the more you want to do. And it's incredible how simple they can be. Like, people think, oh, well, what am I going to think of here? But it's like driving in my car. Sometimes I come out and I see my car and I go, I can't believe it waited for me. You know, I didn't drive till I was late, so I really appreciate driving. I get a big buzz out of that I can go anywhere I want. I write down the area I live in. I mean, what gratitude is doing is it's what we just talked about there. It's raising your internal vibe, you know, and it's the outer world reflects back what you're doing on the inside. So gratitude, it's a tool used by a lot of spiritual teachers, but I think it's a brilliant tool, and I never stop hearing it from spiritual teachers. So well done on getting that one in, because that's essential, absolutely essential.
Yeah. Well, it was so funny. It was like I was given the name, And I didn't realize it was Enoch, my friend, one day, because the treasure map used to be here behind me. But actually, 4, 3, 2, 1 and focus were actually behind me on 2 pieces of paper on my treasure map, my vision board. So it was like it was already coming in. But in the beginning, I didn't realize 3, 2, and 1 were going to be 3 separate things. I didn't. It was as it evolved. I was given the name, and as it evolved, I was told what needed to go in, and it was just amazing. But I know as well, the way I always describe it is like, how we feel, we're a magnet for whatever it is we're feeling. So if you can feel gratitude, you're a magnet for a lot of really good stuff. Like, that's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. Once you understand you've got the power to do this, it's like, and usually one of my things that I'm grateful for every night is my lovely bed. Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the things I write on my list every night is like, I'm grateful for my lovely bed. Because like you, I would start the gratitude at the beginning of the day and then I finish it at nighttime. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great one. And then your other one is meditation, isn't it?
It's just a daily guided meditation, but it's sending the love out to the world and then the love coming back. Because at the moment, and that's, where we were talking earlier on about the number and this, the square root of 1% of the population affects everybody.
Yes.
But if like, it only takes 8,832 of us in the whole world, which is only half of your Facebook followers on your positive life page.
Go get them, Maria.
If we can all connect together from that place of love, we can create the shift in consciousness that we need to for the whole world. Because Einstein said you can't solve a problem at the level that it was created. You've got to go the level above. And so, it's that piece, like you were talking about, the power we have. And we've got to remember how powerful we are. But if we connect together from that place of power, what we can manage to do has nothing to do with big corporates or governments or anything else. We just have a power with the power of God, isn't it? And love working. So it's
absolutely more so than ever. The power is with the human, the internal. Like when you talk about meditation there, and you're saying about sending love out, and there's a practice I do called Twin Hearts, which is kind of similar. And also I'm a big fan of Joe Dispenza at the moment, kind of getting into his work. I'm interviewing him soon, so I wanted to really up my game on his work. So I've been doing his meditations, which are quite like about 45 minutes each one. But he works with heart math. Do you know those guys?
Yeah, I've come across a bit of it, but I haven't got into. The way sometimes you touch on something and it's not quite your time to go in this, or you come at it a slightly different way. That's what I find, and I find you kind of go through periods where I went through my Esther Hicks period, and then I went through my, whatever the next period was. I never forget Florence Scovel Sheen. Like, she's my absolute
great book.
I
love it.
The wisdom of Florence with the 4 books in it together. That's beside my bed all the time. So she's one person I never go away from. Louise Hay is kind of always there as well. But other people I find like that, the way you dip in and out, it's the time to do that. You gather some of the gems, and then it's time.
Well, I'm a major on that one as well, because it's my work. But my favorite teachers will be I always go back to Abraham Hicks, and I love all that Florence Scovel stuff as well, because that was the first books that I read. Conversations with God, I love that. But what you said about the love, I find that, I think I interviewed someone recently, and they said that the heart was the gateway to the divine for the human, and the doorway, the gateway, the access point. And in Joe, what I like about Joe Dispenza's work is he doesn't just get you to meditate, he wires you up to a machine to see what your brain waves are doing. And he shows people in real time, you've just increased your own vibration. You've just caused your immune system to release extra T cells. He shows this with doctors in America. So he's taken that whole thing and backed it up with science. So he's almost like a mechanic for Abraham, because Abraham says, just be positive, just do this. And people are like, it's difficult. But then Joe takes it and says, now here's what you're actually doing inside your body. So some people want that kind of proof, and it's nice to have it. It's validation. But I think what you're doing with sending the love out and getting the love back in, it's a brilliant way to raise the person's vibe. It just works. It's just so, and there's no shortage to love. Once you tap into the heart, love expands, and the more you send out, the more it comes back. So that's a beautiful one.
Yeah. And it's funny because the first time I channeled in the meditation the way it is, because most of my work now is like literally it just comes in. In the beginning, when I was putting things together, I was kind of using other people's books and stuff. Do you know the way like cutting and pasting?
Yeah.
Then it just got to the stage where I trusted myself enough. And but the first time I used that meditation was at the Toastmasters speech when I was talking about the square root of 1% of the population. And like I was back in that room then for my book launch, and then I was back and it's this exact same meditation. It's like, it's funny how, you know, the way like you were talking as well, it's that same thing of like you're on the journey and the seeds are sown and there's things you put together years ago and suddenly they fit into the jigsaw that you're making at the moment. That's the best way I can explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you look back and you go, oh my God, I've forgotten about that, and that's there. And like, it's just like, life is just magical. It really, you know, that's, isn't it? It's just,
It really is. It really is. And sometimes I suppose, you know, we have our tough times and we have to recalibrate, but we have the tools, and these tools that you're doing will really help people. And the other one you had was affirmation,
yeah. So
which,
it's a daily affirmation that you write to
yeah,
start the day, and it is really powerful. And there were specific lines for specific reasons, and yeah, no, it's working. It's an affirmation I write myself anyway every day. Do you know what I mean? It was part of
what's
my
the one for today, actually? What's the one for today?
well, it's the exact same affirmation. You write it every single day.
Every single
So
day. Okay.
the same one. So it's infinite spirit, open the perfect way for me to have an amazing day today. I'm always in the right place at the right time. I'm always doing the right thing at the right time.
Okay.
My life is unfolding perfectly for the highest good of all. I am making perfect progress in every single moment. I am ready to be all that I am. And that was a new line that came in when I went to do this. It was like, and it just kept coming in. And I've heard since it's actually an old Asian line that people have been given to meditate with that came straight into me. And then what we do as it goes along, when you narrow your story down to 2 lines, we put the 2 lines into the daily affirmation. So you personalize it to link in with your own story.
Okay.
And then we
Okay.
go on and we actually record it as well. Do you know? So we're using where, say, Bob Proctor would have been my influence to start the creating the new vision of your life. And he was also, you know, the inspiration for narrowing it down to the 2 lines, because a lot of people would carry their 2 lines around in their wallet, etc. But I then went on to use like modern technology and say, okay, you know, we can record this. We can record our daily affirmation on our phone. You can make your affirmation into a nice meditation for yourself, or you can listen to it when
That's
you're
a great one, actually, Maria, recording on your phone. Yeah.
it's fabulous. Like, because if you start talking to yourself like your favorite granny, it's just so powerful, do you know? And just with that kindness and stuff, it really just works at a whole other different level. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love affirmations. I don't use them as much, actually. You've reminded me now to bring them back into my practice, because when I was reading Joe Dispenza's book the other day, he had a few of them in there as well. And I thought, yeah, I've got to start doing those again. So I'm going to tape them and put them on my phone and listen to them every day.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Another thing as well is that and it was Melanie actually who talked about it when I was interviewing her, but I created a thing called a weekly goals journal. And you create a page, you know, for every day for every week in the year. And in advance, you can write in, I now have an amazing Christmas, I now have an amazing Easter, because they were things having separated, you know, they were things that were difficult for me. And so I started writing those, and then you just let it go. So all the stuff that normally be going, oh no, I hate this, and it's gonna be terrible, it was gone. And just things started to happen much faster. But also I wrote it down that I would start a positive group, and I'd start giving courses, and literally within 48 hours of writing it down, it all just starts to happen by itself. So you can write down your affirmations in advance and date them and just see how it all unfolds.
Okay. Okay. I'm definitely going to take that one. Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm going to start really implementing that one.
Yeah, and do you know what? I have another little course called Focus for Life, which is like what I suppose technically the upsell on 321 Focus. So I'll give you the link for that, and you can work through it, because it actually explains to you how to set up your weekly goals journal. Because maybe that's the thing, you know what I mean? You already are doing a lot of the practices that I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So like, and I don't want anybody to feel, oh, you've got to stop doing your own thing or whatever. It's all about, you know, taking whatever comes to you and making it your own, no matter whose thing it is.
Sure.
But we all have different wisdom and different techniques and stuff to share. So it's interesting. Do you know, I could talk to you forever. But you know what really strikes me here is that the way you've got the Golden Gate Bridge behind you, it's like what you're doing is the bridge for people to get to the other side of the lake. And quite interestingly, you know, like down here, like Lilliput, you know, Dean Swift wrote Gulliver's Travels just up the road from here. And
Right.
Lilliput really is the other side of the lake, right? But it's like you're the bridge in what you're doing. It's so interesting that's the background you've chosen. Because it just feels
That's so.
You're the bridge. You've the bridge lit up. It's like a runway as well. And like you're the bridge for people to get to the other side of the lake, to over the other side, and with the water being so much emotion, but to get past all that to the solid ground on the other side. So it's a very
I love it. I picked that image so randomly. You've no idea. That's my cluelessness on the internet. Basically, is being represented behind me. I just saw that and I went, "That looks good."
Yeah, and it matches my hair.
I was actually in San Francisco. What a city! My God, have you been there?
No, I've only been to LA, but like, and I went to LA and I spent the whole time in the Getty Center because I was just in awe of the place, right? So no, I've only been to LA once for 10 days, and I haven't explored America yet, but I'll get there. Not in this lifetime.
I was on that bridge in a car, an open-topped car with this lady, and we were driving along, and there was 8 lanes of traffic, and you don't see 8 lanes of traffic anywhere. You know, you don't see that in Ireland. And I was just like, this place is so crazy. We went to the wine region in the Napa Valley, but it's an incredible city. Go there if you can. It's magical because it's all, you know, uphill and, you know, the way it goes. And it's total, just very spiritual kind of vibe there. Really cool city.
Wow, sounds amazing. One to put on the list for whenever we all get out of lockdown. So look, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up? Because you and I could be here all day. And
yeah, is there any more questions around? Did we miss any questions, or did we cover everything? What do you think?
I think we've kind of covered anything. Is there anything else you want to share with us about your magazine? How do people get the magazine? Maybe that's an important question to
Okay,
answer.
so how do you get the magazine? You can subscribe to it if you want to get it posted to your house, but you can also pick it up free. Some people like subscribing because it's tricky to get. It can go very quickly in the health food store, but you pick them up in health food stores, which are open now still, I believe. Yeah. Holistic centers and some kind of health spas, but the easiest way, positivelife.ie, and you can subscribe there and we'll post it to you. It's pretty cheap. It's 20 quid for the year, I think, for the subscription. Just really covers the post. And for the events, if you go to the website again, positivelife.ie, and you'll see a section there for positive nights and what's coming up. We have an event on I think it's May the 5th, is it? Thursday, May the 5th. If we can gather by then, there's going to be an announcement of the first week in May, and it might be, if we're allowed gathering groups of 50, that would be fantastic. But we'll see.
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, isn't that what they call it in the Spanish-speaking countries? The 5th of May. It's a really important day. I don't actually know why, but I know it's called Cinco de Mayo, isn't it?
It's a big day, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I must go.
Wouldn't it be great if we could gather again that day?
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It'll happen. It's what I'm finding at the moment. It's like us trying to link up and do this last week. It's all divine timing. It's all the divine plan, and we just all have to. Do you know what? Be patient, because anything that's not meant to happen just isn't happening. And so we'll all be back together again, Paul, when the time is right.
Oh, of course. I'm confident we will. And you'll be up in your minibus with all your mates and scoot into beauties.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping, is that, like, yeah, we might be time to start gathering a group to come from Mullingar, because the nights I've been there, I absolutely love it. It's fabulous. And there's just a lovely vibe. And well, it's like that as well. They're all just, the people you walk into in that room, they're all just friends you haven't met yet. That's the way I feel about it, you know? So
yeah, there really is a lovely vibe there. It's this very, the people that come in are just amazing, and it's a real like-minded buzz, and you can talk about anything, and it's open. And yeah, and we do a lovely little meditation at the end that I always love doing, which kind of really connects people heart-wise, which is lovely. Yeah. And the guests are really fascinating. I don't know where we get them from, but they're coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Anyway, listen, I have so enjoyed talking to you, right? Could talk to you forever, right? And thank you for being so honest and sharing your journey with us and for sharing the tips. And yeah, so I look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks, guys. That's it for now. And I'll be back with another video again soon. Thank you, Paul, so much. And I'll put all the links for you below. Bye.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Paul.